Hello, Vlogish Empire. It's your boy, Captain Reginald Thistlewick III, here on location at scenic Charlestown, Massachusetts. We'll be politely suppressing a bit of spirited colonial feedback. I'm here for content, conquest, and quite frankly, to find out what a Minuteman even is. Quick fit check before we march into some minor insurgent drama. Red wool coat, tailored in London. White breeches, uncomfortably tight. Here we go. The rebels have dug in on this absurdly steep hill, which honestly feels passive-aggressive. Classic Americans, building fortifications without permits.
Bit loud, but honestly, this is just an aggressive version of croquet. Small hiccup, we'll just try the hill again.
Update. Attempt number 2 didn't quite go to plan. Seems the rebels were told not to fire until they saw the whites of our eyes, which frankly feels rude. Another minor update. Turns out the Americans can really shoot. But we technically took the hill after the 3rd charge, so woo, W for Britain!
Well, Vlog Squad, we did it, but at the low cost of nearly everyone I know. If you're watching this, tell Parliament I said, maybe don't.
Smash that like button, subscribe for weekly misadventures, and remember, Empire never dies, but I sure might before this is over.
What was that? AI historical hits. Well, it's what we call a Pyrrhic victory. So, welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the Try F Podcast, where we try not to F the podcast up. And we got a interesting show today. So, how should we start this, boys? I guess we'll start off with me fulfilling a promise I chose to make several weeks ago and didn't do. I promised that I would refute Wes Huff's, what I expect to be Wes Huff's interpretation of the story of the adulterous woman. I had vowed to rebut that if he said what I think he's going to say, and then I put it off and put it off and put it off, and finally I was like, if I don't talk about it, I'm going to be a liar. So if
now
Wes...
here.
Okay, Jess Lambert is saying, looking good, boys. Thank you very much, Jess.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess we're going to start this episode off by listening to Wes Huff talk about... I am having a hard time following up what I'm doing today. There we go. Okay. We're going to start off with Wes Huff talking about the story of the adulterous woman. And then we are going to discuss Joe Rogan speaking to, what was his name? Chad Wright. So, yes, we're going to watch Joe Rogan talk to Chad Wright for a few minutes.
Oh, Chad Wright. Yeah.
In regard... Trevor, who is Chad Wright? You tell us. This is your thing.
Chad Wright is part of an organization called 3 of 7 Project. They have their own podcast, and he's a war veteran, Navy SEAL, ex-Navy SEAL, and anyways, he right here at this clip we were going to show, he talks about his testimony and what led him to follow Jesus. And so I thought I'd share that with y'all tonight. So you'll just hit play.
Okay.
It starts somewhere in here. I couldn't remember exactly where.
Okay, so the next subject will be Chad Wright and his testimony. And then after that, we've got Greg is going to destroy Tataria. Or conquer it. Or bomb it. Or get even with it.
At least the very short video that we found.
Sweet. He's going to express his profound sense of contempt for this country that doesn't exist. It's like the Wyoming of world history. So, anyway. So we've got that. And then lastly, we're going to be talking about 2 things. I believe the Genius. Is that what it's called? The
Genius Act.
The Genius Act. So people are still acting like AI is actually going to be a thing. Guys, it's not going to be a thing. Everybody needs to quit worrying about it. But people are
I'm worried about it.
You shouldn't. Look, AI is a glorified switchboard. I'm telling you. It's
You're going to have to change how they do education, because you can just cheat, like tests, and the education system is just going to be destroyed by Write an essay for me.
Or
Yeah.
entire movies.
Yeah, Jess is always getting on to those guys, those middle schoolers, because she can tell how ChatGTP or whatever sounds, and they've got these fancy editing software now where they can actually watch the kids copy and paste and then not do anything else with the document and wonder how they're getting caught. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to say AI is still hyped, but people are still screaming it's like the Mark of the Beast system or whatever. So
It is the mark of the beast. It's in cahoots with Monster Energy drinks.
It's in cahoots with Monster Energy drinks. I don't know if I buy that, Trevor.
Yeah, the 3 lines on Monster Energy, that's 666.
Yeah, Cody
Obviously.
said, yeah, well, obviously. I mean, you know, that's the first thing that pops into my head about it. No,
That's what she said.
yeah. All right. Well, either way, I'm not worried about it. Everybody else is worried about it. But either way, we're going to talk about it. And in 10 years, you're all going to see that I'm right. This is all melodrama from people with too much time on their hands. And that's pretty much the show. And yeah, so I guess we will start off with why I think the story of the adulterous woman should be in the Bible.
Why do you think it should be?
Because we're gonna get to it. Let's let Wes Huff. Before I
sorry.
get too heavy into it, let's let Wes Huff establish his position, because for all the research I've done, I haven't actually watched what he's going to say. But let me make a prediction, and let's see if I'm right. And I might be wrong. So this is me legitimately going out on a limb because I haven't watched this. And before I do that, Jess says they also have a program called Zero Chat GPT. I'm assuming that's to help children cheat. But well, anyway, I don't know. So Trevor's like, yeah, I wish I had that in school. Yeah, I know, right? Anyway, so let me make a prediction about Wes Huff. So Wes Huff is going to say it was a story that wasn't in the original gospel, but was so popular. It was so popular on the part of the people that they included it. Like it became canon by popular demand in first century Rome. We'll see if that's what he says. I'll talk about it. I'll take that approach if I'm right. But anyway, we'll see. So here is Wes Huff and Michael Knowles talking about the story of the adulterous woman.
The Bible. What about the claim that the story of the woman who's caught in adultery, who's about to be stoned, is not found in the earliest copies of Scripture that we have?
Yeah, so that is actually true.
Yeah.
And I would say, you know, I have an article on my website called My Favorite
I have thoughts, but we're going to let him speak first, and then I'll get into it, because it's involved.
verse
Thoughts
in
are
the Bible
bad.
that's
Okay.
not in the Bible. And that's this passage, right? John 7:53 through 8:11. It's known as the Pericope Adulterae. And it's not found in any of the manuscripts prior to the 5th century.
Lie.
And the first time it appears is in a document called Codex Beza. And it does in a few important medieval manuscripts that contain the story. Like there's
And
the
Greek.
12th century Minuscule 1. The story is placed after the Gospel of John is finished. And then the scribe in Minuscule 1 has an explanatory note stating that the story isn't found in any of the manuscripts that he has, and it's not in the possession of the references of the church fathers. And I think he mentions John Chrysostom and Cyril of Alexandria. But he says he's aware of this story and he thinks it sounds like an authentic Jesus story. And there does seem to be precedence in a few quotations from the early church fathers. So what do we think is going on here? Well, I don't think John wrote it.
He is dramatically understating what the church fathers said about this. Trevor would know, because Trevor helped me research this, because I couldn't find my research from 6 months ago. So you
My
know,
brain hurts.
Your brain.
That's more reading than I've done all week.
Hang in there, buddy. All right.
I think the language and the syntax and the way that it breaks up the text between the end of chapter 7 and the beginning of
Language, syntax, that's Westcott and Horror. I need to shut up.
chapter
Okay.
8. Now, remember, those chapters and verse divisions are later kind of ascriptions to the text to make it easier to read. Nonetheless, I think it still breaks up the narrative. However, I think what we see within that story that has early precedent within the early Jesus community for some early Christian writers who appear to be quoting it, is that it's probably an authentic Jesus story. It just wasn't written down by John. And so in that sense, I treat it like I treat some of the patristics, the early church fathers. I think it has value and it has meaning. And even John himself says that he didn't write down everything that Jesus ever did. And if he tried, the sky
the whole
itself,
world, right?
yeah, it wouldn't be a scroll long enough. So I think we can see from the pattern of what rings true of an authentic Jesus narrative that the story of the woman caught in adultery fits. However, because I do not believe John wrote it, I would kind of hesitate in calling it inspired scripture, because I think what God inspired John to write is what was inspired for the Gospel of John. However, I am fine with holding it as a story that rings true. I don't actually think we lose anything of the character of Jesus in terms of his forgiving of sins or his care or his humility in terms of that. But it appears to be a beloved story that crops up very early within the 2nd century, but that we have kind of a spotty manuscript history of this particular text throughout the manuscripts, and scribes are always putting asterisks beside it and saying something's going on here that we're not totally sure. But scribes usually include things rather than take out things to be safe. And so I think, if I'm preaching at my church and I come over it, I'm going to have I'm going to have a sermon that explains something like textual criticism, how we know what the original text of scripture is and how, these things kind of play out in history. But Michael, I think this is very encouraging that we know exactly what is and isn't in scripture. The only reason why people even doubt the story of the woman caught in adultery is because we are able, with such a high degree of confidence, to be able to pinpoint what is and isn't scripture, or what kind of has a question mark over it. And the vast majority of these are 1 or 2 words long. And if you're curious about them, modern English translations have citation notes at the bottom of the page that will tell you what's going on. If you open up to the,
Okay, I'm sorry, but are you guys catching the shaking his head as he's giving an affirmative message thing? We were like prattling on about body language last week, so I just want to point that out. He's speaking a party line here, a very standard party line.
What's
which
the
is kind
party
of how
line?
that basically. I think we've heard it up. I kind of want to listen to the rest of this before I get into it, because I want to make sure that I don't take out anything that he said. I don't want to take anything out of context. So let me finish listening, and then I'll get into it in detail. But he's very, very wrong, in my opinion.
John chapter 7, on the beginning of chapter 8, your Bible is going to have a citation note there that's going to explain what's going on. So we're honest with the text. And as someone who studies manuscripts and the text, I have an incredible level of encouragement and confidence to know exactly what is and isn't authentic, even if there are some question marks around certain texts, because we have such a rich manuscript tradition within the history of Christianity.
Does this cause any problems for you over, say, the inerrancy of Scripture? Because for me, as a mackerel-snapping papist, I do not exalt private judgment all that high, and where there's a conflict between my private judgment and the magisterium of the church, I defer to the magisterium. Listen, I'm not being falsely modest. I'm not the dumbest guy in the world, but I'm certainly not the smartest guy in the world. And so if, going back to the Council of Rome, as we were discussing earlier, and then all the way up through the Council of Trent, if the church tells me this is the Bible and I can know with certainty that this is the inerrant word of God, I say, okay, I don't need to worry about it anymore. Delving, professionally into all of the minutia of all of the textual questions that arise in ancient manuscripts, when you come across something like the woman who is caught in adultery that doesn't necessarily appear until centuries later, does that ever shake your confidence in principle in the inerrancy of Scripture?
It doesn't, because that which I believe is inspired and inerrant is that which was originally written. And I believe that we can get down to what that is and isn't. I think that we have such a rich tradition that the tenacity of the scribes all the way out throughout history is able then in 2025 to have me be able to say, I have an incredible level of evidence on my side to ascribe this as what it is. Now, I think you likewise, Michael, can take an ecclesiastical position and say that, there's a rich church tradition that has accepted this. And there are even some Protestants that would take that position as well and ascribe, say it's not necessarily what John wrote. There's a reception history that is included within that conversation. Now, I take a differing opinion on that, but I understand that. And I think that if that's the position you're going to take, you also have a lot to go on with that in terms of it being attributed very early on within the early Jesus community with individuals who are then likewise quoting it as something that is authentic about who Jesus is. So where I would say I'm interested in what Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John wrote as opposed to scribes later on, I still think both you and I, even though we might take different methodologies to ascribe what is inspiration, both have a lot of evidence on our side for the positions that we take to actually have confidence.
Right. And I love your point too, which is even if you don't take it as a matter of magisterial authority on any matter of your faith, we know so much about these texts, so reliable. The phrase used, the tenacity of these scribes, that you really can't question a lot of this stuff. It's kind of there. If you look into it, you're gonna get the right answer. I
looked into it. I'm right, they're wrong. Anyway, so okay, to start with, let's think about this. Greg, you're kind of the historian. See if I'm relatively speaking. If, as I recall, first century Rome was a little sexist, right?
Very.
Right.
Yeah, that's
right. So let me see if I understand this. So the story about Christ siding with the property over the priests was so popular that it was introduced into the Gospel of John by popular demand in 1st and 2nd century Rome. Did I hear that correctly? Because I'm pretty sure that's what he said.
If I was going to steel man his argument, so you're right, early Rome was very sexist. And one of the reasons, in the early church, a lot of Christianity really had a very strong influence with women. Like women converted at higher rates than men, and a lot of that was because of the really the sexist views of the Romans. And Christianity had a much more esteem for women. So I could see in his argument how, as the church, had a higher percentage of women converts, how that would lead to its popularity.
But the people determining, sorry, go on.
It's not really a particularly strong argument, though. I mean, really, it's a lot more common in the early church. Really, when you look at a lot of the heresies, it's a lot more common to cut stuff out of the Bible that you don't like. Yeah, in general, it's a lot more common. You've got a lot of early churches, a lot of early Christian heresies were like, Romans who didn't like the Jews. They would cut out all the parts in Matthew about Jesus' Jewishness. It was just a lot more common to cut stuff out than to add stuff.
Right. We actually had this conversation when the Billy Carson thing was going on. We were talking about it, and it was like, look, imagine the Lord of the Rings. You could probably get away with cutting a paragraph out of the Lord of the Rings and somebody might not notice. You try to add a whole other story or a whole other section into Lord of the Rings, you're not getting away with that. It is way more difficult to add stuff into canon than it is to take stuff out.
Yeah.
And so the idea that they were adding stuff in and that was becoming an organic part of the circulation, like that doesn't happen with literary works because people have the original copies. Now things can get missed, but it's very difficult to add large sections of text.
And when you add stuff in, it becomes very, very obvious that it doesn't belong. Like the Gospels are so descriptive in like their geography and the politics and everything going on that matches historically so well that, people 200 years ago or 200 years in the future trying to add stuff in, it just wouldn't match.
Right. Oh, yeah. And to deal with your critique of like the majority of the church, the congregation being women, I would agree with that. I mean, I think that's right. I don't remember the percentages, but I do know that a lot of this is a funny story I heard. I don't know how true it is, but I heard it on the YouTube that a lot of it was the women were dragging the husbands to the church because the church was telling them to stay home and quit sleeping with the prostitutes. So
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, sleeping with prostitutes is bad. You should stop that.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a lot of what was going on. But my counter to that would be the leadership was mostly men.
Yeah.
And so it's very difficult for me to imagine that the leadership would insert this story into the Gospel of John just because of the congregation. So that is the first issue. So yeah, I do not believe for a second that this was just inserted into the Bible by popular demand. Like, that does not make any sense to me. That's the first problem. The second problem is when he says oldest manuscripts, he's not actually talking about the oldest anymore. He's talking about the Alexandrian texts. Now, I am not an expert on textual criticism, so I'm going to recommend at least one book, possibly two. So here is, I don't know if you can see that or not. It's Neither Oldest Nor Best by David Sorensen. And what we're really dealing with is the controversy with the Sinaiticus and the Vaticanus. Those are the two main source texts for pretty much everything, not every last thing anymore, because there's been some counter movements since then, but pretty much from the Revised Standard Edition of, I want to say 1870 or 1890, I can't remember which, but from the Revised Standard Edition on, everything has been going off of the Sinaiticus and the Vaticanus, not the Textus Receptus. So when he says oldest and best manuscripts, he's not talking about carbon dating. He's talking about manuscripts, or not just carbon dating. What he's talking about is that they have stopped using the Greek texts that were from the Orthodox Church, and they've started using a collection of texts out of Alexandria, because in their mind, they're older because it's from a desert region and all the rest of it. But there's some problems with that. Alexandria was the hub of Gnosticism. So there's a lot higher likelihood of like corruption in those texts than there would be in the Orthodox area. Because, that was kind of the epicenter of Gnosticism, from what I understand. In fact, I think a good chunk of the manuscripts, or at least some of them, were found right outside of a Gnostic church. But the story of the Sinaiticus and the Vaticanus is particularly interesting. I'm trying to find a concise way to say this, but
it's involved.
It's very involved.
Simplifying it is a task.
Yeah, the bottom line is the Vaticanus. Let me give you the very short version, because this comes out of the 1830s German rationalist movement. These people were determined to replace the King James. The Catholics were particularly interested in getting rid of the King James because they wanted to kill the paper pope. So there's politics galore going on around the time that these two manuscripts are found. That's the simple version. And how do I put this? So basically, the Vaticanus might be a back translation of the Vulgate, is the suspicion. No, it's not. And the Sinaiticus might be a translation of the Vaticanus. It's very complicated, but it's the controversy of Simonides is the bottom line. Basically, there was a Greek Orthodox priest who tried to make a faux ancient manuscript as a gift for the Russian Tsar, and that manuscript got put into the monastery at Mount Sinai. Trevor, do you remember when we were talking about Billy Carson in the Sinai Bible, what he was calling the Sinai Bible?
Barely.
Well, what he was referring to was the Sinaiticus. And that Sinai monastery where they found the Sinai Bible was actually the Sinaiticus. And they said the Sinaiticus was like the world's oldest version of the Bible or whatever. But But really what Simonides claimed was that he had actually made it. It was a botched project for the Tsar that they basically were going to complete in the Sinai monastery but never did. And Tischendorf, out of Germany, stole it and claimed it was the oldest manuscript. So there is an entire controversy. So if you want to read about that, Neither Oldest Nor Best by David Sorensen. Mark Ward hates that book, by the way. Or not, Mark Ward and David Sorensen and James White and David Sorensen, they don't get along. There's a couple other books here I want to take a minute to recommend really quick. Let me pull them up in my library on the same subject because I'm not an expert on this. I want to give it to better people. So David W. Daniels, The World's Oldest Bible. Is The World's Oldest Bible a Fake? Is another one. So that's David W. Daniels. Is The World's Oldest Bible a Fake? And then he's got a sequel to it. Where is that? Why are you moving stuff around on me? Bottom line, he's got a book about that, and then he's got a sequel to it. Where did it go? Dang it, I'm killing my momentum.
Page unloaded.
What?
The page unloaded.
The page unloaded. I didn't unload, it's just, yeah, it's not showing up. But if you find one, you can find the other. So look up, is the World's Oldest Bible a Fake? Yeah, that's a good one. And yeah, there's a bunch of books written on this, and it revolves around the controversy around Simonides. So there's a whole, when they say oldest manuscripts, they're not talking about a consensus. They're talking about a specific group of manuscripts from a specific region found at a very dubious point in history. So that's my thing. And so I'm very skeptical about that. The other thing, and this really irritates me personally, but the last point I will make on this is you actually have multiple church fathers that refer to a specific period of time when there was a concerted effort to remove the story of the adulterous woman. Two separate accounts from two church fathers that were born around the same time, but in different regions of the world and would not have met. And they attest to the same thing. Now, from a historical perspective, that's pretty compelling that it's actually something that happened.
How do you argue with that?
Yeah, but they ignore it. They're like, well, that wouldn't have happened. They wouldn't have, like, in early Rome,
So who were they?
First one is Augustine of Hippo.
Jerome. Or
and
Augustine.
then Augustine of Hippo, and then Jerome. So let me read the quote from Augustine, and this would have been 380, I think was when this quote was. I'm not sure. But it's from the Adulterous Conigulis. I can't read that. Anyway, let me see if I can get to the split screen here. Can I show this? I want to read the quote to people, even though it's in a Word document. Hang on a minute.
You're in a Word document.
You're a Word document. Here
Oh,
we go.
thank you.
That was not a compliment, sir.
Oh,
Sorry,
mine was.
I gotta change my box around because it's being ridiculous.
He's boxing.
There we go. Okay, so this is from the Adulterous Conigulis, something Latin. Certain persons of little faith, or rather enemies of the true faith, fearing, I suppose, lest their wives should be given impunity in sinning, removed from their manuscripts the Lord's act of forgiveness toward the adulteress, as if he who had said, sin no more, had granted permission to sin. So that's Augustine. They completely ignore it. It's like, well, the church wouldn't do such a thing. Oh, really? The church would never, ever be worried about people running around and sinning. So,
Yeah, the church is perfect.
yeah, the church would never.
Every member.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. And then I don't know if there's a direct quote for Jerome, but here's what we do have on Jerome. So this is from ChatGTP when it was talking about it. So when Jerome translated the Gospels into Latin for the Vulgate, he explicitly included the passage in his preference to the Gospels and in his commentary on John. He stated that the story of the woman taken in adultery was found in many Greek and Latin manuscripts. meaning it wasn't some obscure variant. He also noted that some people were omitting it, likely due to moral or disciplinary concerns, for example, fear that it might seem to encourage adultery. And this would have been, if you're looking for the quote, which we did not have time to do, against the Pelagians, Book 2, Section 17. That's against the Pelagians, Book 2, Section 17. In the Gospels according to John, and this is at least one part of it, in the Gospel according to John, there is found in many manuscripts, both Greek and Latin, the story of the adulterous woman who was accused before the Lord. And in the same context, Jerome makes it clear that he was aware some were removing it, but he rejected their reasoning and included it in his translation as part of the inspired text. So, that is two separate people born around the same time, but in different regions of the globe, attesting to the same thing. The church was freaking removing the story. And so the reason that you have it at the end of the book, instead of in where it's supposed to be, between 7 and 8, is because the priest got caught, and they had to add it back in. Or somebody corrected it later. And there's also the only weird scenario, I cannot, is it James Snap or James Sharp? I think it's James Snap. He talks about there being some complication with a type of textual document called a lectionary, where they were reading for specific holidays and the story of the adulterous woman didn't match during those holidays, so they would move the story in the lectionaries, and possibly in some transmission line, the the lectionary, I might not be using the right word, but the lectionary was copied as an original manuscript, and that caused confusion. Maybe. I think it's more likely that they were trying to add it back in because the church kept cutting it out. But we don't want to talk about that because that makes the church seem like they're trying to determine what the inerrant word of God is. So.
That would never happen.
That would never happen. Ever. Of course not. So anyway, so that is my challenge to Wes Huff. I think it is incredibly unlikely that they would be adding the story of the adulterous woman into the Gospel of John during, the first couple centuries of Rome. I don't think that's going to happen.
And there would be no controversy. Nobody would speak up and be like, hey, this was added.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, you've got Augustine and Jerome saying they were cutting it out. So the odds that nobody would say, hey, why are you adding this?
Exactly. We have historical documentation of one, but not the other. Little weird. So it's probably more likely that it was cut out. But we don't want to say that because that might make the church look bad. So it's easier to say that, then plebs added it in. So anyway, so that's my complaint with it. It's a fascinating, involved topic. I just skimmed the surface, but it's similar crap with Mark 16. It's in a lot of other verses. Bottom line is pretty much I'm not a King James onlyist in the sense that I think that there's something divine or special about the King James, but I don't trust anything out of the 1800s. I've read those people. They're psychotic. Like, other than, we got rid of slavery, and we kind of built some stuff. Beyond that, and pasteurization, I guess, was good. But for the most part, when it comes to academia, I wouldn't trust anything out of the last half of the 1800s. Because you have the German rationalist movement, and then you have Westcott and Hort, and this subjective criterion for textual criticism.
But
it's
the late
wreck.
1800s brought us communism, Gary. They brought us communism.
It was going to change the world. We just never did it right. Wrong? Yeah. We just never did it right, though. I mean, I'm sure we'll get it right someday, If we would just, make the right adjustments. But anyway, so I think that's everything. I think I've made my case. I feel like there's more, but
there's always more.
Yeah, there's a lot more. I would encourage a lot of reading. Mark Ward and Wes Huff would be kind of on the traditional modern textual criticism end of this. David Sorensen, David W. Daniels. Let me Google, make sure I've got his name right. I believe it's James Snap, but let me make sure. Hang on here.
You could have 1 million followers and still not be able.
Stop talking, ad. All right,
They're ad talking. Or ad-libbing.
Snap. Is that his name? Yes, James Snap. So James Snap also has a lot of books on the subject. He'd be kind of in the middle. Cody Bocephus says, no one has ever tried real communism. Someday, we'll get it right. Someday.
One day.
Yeah, so you can also look up James Snap.
Mao was so close.
Mao was so close. He almost missed it by that much. By 100 million corpses. So let me move my box back here. That's one thing that stinks about using Word documents in your share screen. Anyway, so yeah, here's James Snap. And yeah, he's on YouTube. So there's a bunch of people involved in this debate, but I am convinced that the story of the adulterous woman belongs in John and is inerrant. And modern textual critics are horribly wrong. And pretty much everything Westcott and Hort ever suggested was horribly wrong. So
some other time, we don't necessarily want to get in it now, but at some other time I'd like to go through the end of Mark, because I'm vague on the arguments. Huh?
Well, you want me to tease? I can tease. I can tease the end of
Jesus,
Mark.
Please.
Okay, I'm gonna tease. I bookmarked it just in case.
Heck yeah.
So, this is David Sortson writing about the ending of Mark with regards to the Vaticanus and the Sinaiticus. As incredulous as this may seem, it is true. The portion of the Gospel of Mark 16 in both Vaticanus and Sinaiticus were written out by the same scribe. Tischendorf refers to him as Scribe D. As remarkable as it may seem, even Tischendorf himself noticed this and commented about it on several occasions. So there's tease one. There was some chicanery afoot.
Chicanery?
They were messing with the manuscripts. So that leads me to the saga of Manuscript 2427. At the University of Chicago Library lies a telling manuscript originally known as the Goodspeed MS-38. It also came to be known as Archaic Mark. Then it came to be known as MS-2427, i.e. Manuscript 2427. Today, its library reference number is Shelf Mark 972. It is acknowledged by all, including the University of Chicago, to have been produced in the 19th century. It is a verbatim copy of the Vaticanus, Gospel of Mark, word for word, letter for letter, but it is very cleverly done, given the appearance of great antiquity. However, modern analytical processes have demonstrated it to be of modern production. Chemical analysis showed that one of its inks was not invented until sometime in the 19th century. It is thus a forgery. Yet the University of Chicago keeps it as an example of a forged document purporting to be ancient. However, the ancient appearance of MS-2427 was such that even Kurt Ahland, renowned German textual expert, proclaimed it to be a Category 1 manuscript. But here is what is amazing about MS-2427. Okay, here's what is amazing. MS-2427 included the last 12 verses of Mark 16, whereas the purported original does not. How could that be? So let me translate this. The reason they say the end of Mark is not there is because in the Vaticanus and Sinaiticus, it's gone. But MS-2427 is a forgery of the Vaticanus, and yet it's there. So even though it was made in the 1800s, this forgery, it has the end of Mark, but it's a direct copy of the Vaticanus. In short, that means somebody monkeyed with the Vaticanus after the forgery. Somebody got into the Vatican and monkeyed with the Vaticanus. That's the theory. That's what Manuscript 2427 shows. Never trust anything out of the 1800s. It's a terrible century. So yeah, This is a fascinating book. I really enjoyed this book. I'm sure that modern textual critics like James White hate it, though. So, anyway. So, would you like to talk about that further at some point, Mr. Greg?
Yeah, maybe another week or something.
Maybe
yeah,
another
we can make
week.
a second later.
Okay. Well, we'll call that good for this episode. We're about 40 minutes in. Trevor, do you have any final thoughts?
Is this the same adulterous woman story where Jesus said, He who is without sin cast the first stone"?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
A manipulative preacher might consider that passage a problem.
Yeah. That's my personal opinion. Why they actually want to pull it out of there.
Yeah. Can you see there might have been a motive for somebody trying to weaponize religion? You know, they might want to get rid of that story. Just maybe, perhaps, possibly. But anyway.
Cody said everybody that had airships in the 1800s. I found that pretty sweet.
Well,
By
everybody, do you mean two?
You mean hot air balloon?
Yeah, I think he means hot air balloons.
They had those.
Maybe it was the Wright brothers.
Yeah, it's no, the science was ridiculous back then. They got a couple things right, I guess, sort of. But anyway, we won't delve too long there. Greg, do you have any final thoughts?
No, it seems, especially the two accounts from the account from Jerome and Augustine is that kind of puts a nail in the coffin, in my opinion. I don't really know how you refute that, huh?
Well, they just say that wouldn't have happened. It just wouldn't have happened. Like, the church would never. That's the only response I've ever heard, is that the church would never do something like that. But anyway, we'll let some other textual critic guy tell me why I'm wrong if they ever see this. If he's one of the lucky 5 to win the lottery and subject themselves to this video. But anyway,
You think we should get Wes Huff on here if he sees it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Wes Huff would ever give us the time. But
you never know.
You never know. You never know. All right, with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you are on the live stream, don't go anywhere. We've got another project. We've got another section, subject to come up. Episode 2 is coming. I guess that's what I mean. But if you're watching this after the fact, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. All right.
See you. Thank you.
All right, sweet. So Cody says, from what I understand, there were a lot. Allegedly. I don't know. I wasn't alive. All the wealthy people had them.
The 1%ers back then.
The 1%ers. They were sitting there in their hot air balloons going, look at all the miserable poor. They look like ants. I've evolved for... poor in their rags and their horse poop. I'm smarter. Darwin loves me more. So. Charlie loves me more. All right, so what should we do next, gentlemen? Should we move on to...
Pizzagate.
No.
If you want me to talk about Tataria, I probably ought to, and I don't... Because after that, I probably need to head inside.
All right, so we'll do Tataria next. Okay, so Mr. Greg, tell us a little bit about your Tataria and why you have so much contempt for it. Actually, hang on a minute. Let me sign us in first. Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the Tri-F Podcast, where we try not to F the podcast up. And today, we are talking about Tataria and why Greg hates it. All right, with that being said, Greg, why do you hate Tataria?
Tataria is one of... No, it has to be the dumbest conspiracy theory I've ever heard. I have contempt. I dislike flat Earth, but I don't hate it to this degree. Flat Earth basically says that everybody who's ever circumnavigated the Earth was just lying. Tataria says that every person who has ever existed before the 1800s has been lying to us. So, with that being said, do you have the video that we, yeah?
I have a video.
And then we can pause and I can pick pick through it, huh?
All right, lead us
Pick it apart.
Lead us through the deception, Obi-Wan.
Did you know that an entire empire has been erased from history? Once upon a time, you could open any map from the 1500s through to the 1800s and find a massive territory labeled Tartaria, or Grand Tartary. This was no little kingdom.
Okay.
We're talking about...
I'm sorry. Every time I hear Tartary or Taria, there's a word that pops in my head we can't say on YouTube. So I'm like,
it's a giant section of the map, Tataria, because nobody lived there. There were no city. The Tartars were one of many tribes of like steppe nomads who inhabited the area. You know, the Mongols, the Huns, the Yanshu. All of these nomadic tribes inhabited this area. There were no great cities. So when they filled in the map, they just said Tataria because Tataria was one of the tribes. That's what they were known as. So they just said Tataria.
So was it in Asia?
Yeah, it's like Russia.
Oh, okay.
Kazakhstan, Mongolia. You know, so they just put this giant area and called it Tataria because there's nothing else to say about it.
like Wyoming.
In Siberia.
Ah. Yeah, like Wyoming.
Okay,
Wyoming. Got it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So it's more of a national park than anything.
Or a national park.
National parks are pretty. This is just ugly, dry, disgusting grassland.
Oh.
It's like a Mad Max Yellowstone.
Kind of.
About an empire
it's really
that
good
stretched...
for horses. That's about it.
Gotcha. Oh, Cody says, ha 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 ha. I feel you, old Greg. Tataria is ridiculous.
From Eastern Europe across Asia. But suddenly Grand Tartary disappeared without a trace. What happened to the once magnificent civilization? Did they disappear naturally, or is there more to the sudden vanishing? We will find out together in this new episode of Secret Origins. Welcome.
This isn't actually the video I watched, but go ahead.
Okay.
Before we dive into the conspiracy, let's start with the most undeniable evidence of all, the maps.
Okay.
Take a look at maps from the 50s.
It's undeniable, Greg.
Undeniable. Okay.
So you have a rebuttal for this undeniable evidence?
Well, we haven't actually said it other than that they were just maps, but... Okay, let's go ahead.
1500s to 1800s. For over 3 centuries, European cartographers showed a vast region called Tartaria, or Grand Tartary. These weren't rough sketches or fantasy maps. One look and you'll see the empire dominating huge swaths of Asia, spanning from the Caspian Sea to the Pacific Ocean, and from Siberia down into Central Asia. Some maps even show...
There's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
Oh, where did all these videos of people walking around in Tartaria? Antiquitech. That's a nice word. Trevor, that needs to be our word of the day, Antiquitech. Sorry, Greg, go on.
Antiquitech. Let me see if I can find
Keep going. I'm going to try to find the link to the video I watched.
Okay. All right, while you do that, yeah, find it and send it in the chat, and I'll put it up. Okay, Mr. Trevor, we're gonna react to this mysterious realm called Narnia.
Independent Tartary, Chinese Tartary, and Russian Tartary. This suggests...
Okay, I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, but just say retardary, Chinese retardary, Afghanistan retardary. Tartaria. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It's not just one region, but multiple Tartarian territories.
Jar Jar territory. There we go.
But here's the thing. How does a landmass this enormous just disappear?
It
didn't disappear. There's nothing there.
I was going to say, it didn't disappear. It just changed the name.
If you still wonder...
It's like saying if California, conquered Wyoming and called it California, everybody would be like, Wyoming was just gone. What happened to it?
whether the empire did exist, you should see this. Different European nations' maps all show consistent descriptions of Tartarian territories. French maps, Dutch maps, German maps, you name it. They all agree on where Tartaria was located and how large it was. That's not the kind of consistency you'd expect if map makers were just making stories. But in the 1800s, Tartaria began to leave maps, not gradually, no, but suddenly, like someone decided that this empire should no longer exist on paper. The question is, how did this happen?
Because Russia conquered it and it became Russia.
Think about it.
Okay, so Russia conquered it, and it became Russia.
Expanded, and this area became Russia. That's the story of why the maps changed.
Okay. All right. Well, go on for a minute, and let me find this video you're referring to really quick. So, let's see. Trevor, do you have any thoughts for Greg?
So, when did this happen? Like, is it part of, like, the,
So, according to the Tataria theory, Tataria was this world-spanning empire that was like controlled from like Eastern Europe all the way over all of North America. And when they came to the US, it was all gone. It was just ruins, and we were just finding the remnants of Tataria. And so according to them, it seems like this all changed in the 1800s and everybody just rewrote the history books. So everything before the 1800s didn't happen. It's all made up. Huh?
So
It's kind of
basically,
like the time hypothesis. Huh?
basically it happened and they said, burn all the books and we'll rewrite it.
Yeah. Everything in history before the 1800s is just fake, made up.
Well, I thought that was the way it was.
They then argue that because in the Middle Ages it took 100 years to build a cathedral, that because it took them 100 years in the Middle Ages, then therefore we could not possibly have built things as quickly as we did in the US. But that kind of defeats the argument because according to them, it never happened in the Middle Ages. It's all made up.
So who started this theory? Do you know who kicked it off?
Oh, I have no idea.
Huh.
It's probably AI.
Sorry, it's being a little... The search algorithms have really dropped in quality. I'm having trouble finding it. So, give me just a minute. The Tataria conspiracy was a global civilization.
I sent a link to your text. I texted you a link. Huh?
Yeah, but I have to type it in on the computer, so I
Yeah,
can't.
you can't just copy it.
I didn't think I should have emailed it.
Well, you can send it in the chat on.
Here we go. Gotcha.
Everywhere you look,
Zoom
the story's
call.
Got it. Just had to type it in word for word. All right, here we go.
Everywhere you look, the story is the same. A building older than it should be. Architecture too advanced for its time. A timeline that doesn't add up.
People were smart before the light bulb.
They had brains back then? What?
Yeah.
And when
who'd have thunk?
you
Who
ask
would have thought
questions,
it?
they laugh. They say, it's just a coincidence. Just a style. Just a fort. But it's not just anything. It's a pattern, and patterns don't lie. Because scattered across the world, from France to India, from Russia to the United States, lie. Thousands of identical star-shaped structures. No blueprint, no known architecture.
Star-shaped structures?
Star forts. They are talking about star forts. And they are claiming that because there are star forts all over the world, that therefore the Tartarian Empire built star forts all over the world. The issue here is that we know where star forts came from. Star forts developed after the canon because when you had castles that you built over the course of, a couple decades for, an incredible amount of money, an army could just pull up with a cannon and blow it to smithereens in a few hours. So they're like, well, how do we build defensive structures that aren't castles and can't be destroyed that quickly. And so star forts are kind of the answer. They started using earthworks instead of stone, and that actually developed into trench warfare. But if you look at the shape of them, they're basically castles or fortresses built out of like earth or sand so a cannon can't blow it up as easily.
Because of the shock, like a shock absorber type of thing.
Yeah, so and they blew up and appeared all over the world about the time people, the West started colonizing all over the world with their ships and cannons and gunpowder. So the English, the Spanish, the French started building fortresses with this star shape, all at the same time, all over the world. And they're like, "Oh, look, it's proof.
Aliens did it.
We know where they came from. They're not even that old." Okay. All right, go ahead.
That's fantastic. Okay.
Architects, and no historical explanation for how they appeared or who built them.
We do.
We
do. We know all of them.
Fact
They just
check.
say crap. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Call them all star forts, but they might as well call them footprints, because these are the remains of something much bigger, a civilization you've never been taught about, a global empire erased from the books. Tartaria. Not a myth, not a hoax, a conspiracy buried beneath bricks and bastions. Let's begin. Star forts, or bastion forts, are geometric, symmetrical, and highly advanced military fortresses. They appear all over the world, in places that supposedly never had contact with one another. Brazil, Vietnam, Italy, Morocco, and in the most bizarre of all places, the hotbox United States. Star forts
Where
in New York.
They were colonized by European explorers. Who'd have thought? And all over Europe. They're all over Europe. Huh? Okay. Go ahead.
How are you going to refute this ironclad argument, Greg?
It's just ironclad. Yeah.
It's almost as impenetrable as these star forts.
It's almost as.
We should play Nicki Minaj's Starships.
Oh, let's not. Oh God.
No.
Even remote islands like Guam. But here's the problem.
That was colonized.
These forts existed, before. The cities around them. Before colonial expansion.
What? Okay, pause. Of course they existed before the cities. The cities build up around forts. That's the way it's been throughout all of human history.
Shush. Shut up.
Do they think they built a city and then afterwards they were like, let's build a fort? No.
You're making too much sense.
Countries, armies build fortresses, and then over time cities build around them. This is not complicated.
I thought suburbs developed before the downtown, where there were the jobs.
Yeah.
Like you make Beaver Cleaverville, and then you make a place for them to shop.
The stupid just hurts.
I don't know, man. I'm convinced. You know what else I'm convinced of? I'm convinced that AI is going to take over the world after this quality video we're watching. The awkward pauses and weird intonation has persuaded me entirely.
Honestly, I believe it.
Trevor, you sweet, sweet child. All right, here we go.
Before the wars, they were supposedly built to fight. And in many cases, the people who discovered them didn't build them. They found them,
Give me an example.
reclaimed them,
One
repurposed
example.
them.
What?
One example. Give me an example.
I don't have one, sorry.
Cite one source. Okay, go ahead.
Narnia.
Ooh. There you go. Game
Where did
over.
they come from? Enter Tartaria, a name you were never taught in school, but one that appears on hundreds of maps from the 15th to the 19th century. Tartaria, or Grand Tartary, was once labeled as the largest empire on Earth, spanning from
it was never
Siberia
called
to
an
the Pacific.
empire. Labeled the greatest empire on Earth. 'Cause, like, what?
Where did they come from?
Labeled the greatest empire on Earth. 'Cause, like, what? Labeled the greatest empire on Earth. 'Cause, like, what? Labeled the greatest empire on Earth. putting a name on a map doesn't make something an empire.
Yeah, I thought empires had emperors and rulers.
Or people.
Or people.
People to rule.
Slap a name Tataria over an empty wasteland and they're like, it's an empire. What? Okay, go ahead.
Even touching parts of Europe and North America. You'll find it on maps published by respected cartographers, not fringe theorists. But by the late 1800s, the name disappears, replaced, erased. And with it, the memory of an empire that once stretched across continents. They'll tell you it was a geographic label, that Tartars were just nomads, that nothing was really lost.
Tell me they're not.
But if that's true, why did...
What?
They'll tell you they were just nomads, and I'm like, prove that they weren't.
Right?
we
erase
it? Why is it that every time we dig too deep, we find infrastructure far beyond the claimed capabilities of its people? Why does the architecture remain, but the history vanish? Now, here's where it gets weirder.
Can I posit an answer to that question?
Okay.
As a novice, could it be that various empires have taken over different parts of that region throughout time and built things?
That's ridiculous, Gary. That's ridiculous.
Oh, well, I tried.
Do you think a worldwide flood would have something to do with it too?
Shush! Shut up! You can't talk about that.
Oh.
Jessica Lambert says Gnostic.
Who's Gnostic?
Gnostic.
House. What?
She says Gnostic. I don't know. I don't think they're Gnostic, Jess. I don't think anybody believed anything because there was nobody there. Except like horse people that were going from place to place. Again, Wyoming. But anyway.
The so-called world fairs of the 19th and early 20th centuries were presented as temporary constructions, built just for show, giant neoclassical cities, sprawling boulevards, ornate domes, obelisks, and statues, all allegedly made with wood and plaster.
No, I want to go visit this place.
Destroyed immediately after.
Allegedly.
So they claim here that the World's Fair, if you've seen pictures of the World's Fair, it's this great, they basically build these crazy cities to show off, and then they just destroyed it afterwards, which is what they did. It was just a city made of plaster and wood that they put up for show and then took down afterwards. And they're trying to claim that that didn't happen, and the idea is ridiculous.
It's like China, only China forgot to tear the buildings down, and they've just got empty skyscrapers everywhere.
Yeah, there's actually videos of early pictures of the World's Fair where you can see that the buildings are all just fake facades.
Yeah. That's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, I'm with you.
Why? They say it's because they weren't meant to last. But look at the photos, the scale, the detail. You don't build entire cities from scratch for a...
Huh?
They're like, look at the photos, and all we see is AI. I'm like, show us some photos.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I know. But man, that AI is such quality, though. I can't tell the difference. It's going to replace everything. I won't know what's real anymore.
3-month event, just to tear them down again. Unless you didn't build them at all. You inherited them. What if these world fairs were cover-ups? Grand reset events to showcase and then destroy the remnants of the Tartarian Empire? Wipe the memory.
Okay. Can I pause?
What?
So what happened is they built these giant, brilliant cities with all this incredible architecture out of plaster and wood so that they could tear them down after the event.
Right.
They're saying that is ridiculous. Clearly, what was actually happening is that these were real cities, and these were real, amazing, incredible cities. And instead of using them, we tore them down because we wanted to erase the memory.
But why, though?
What is more ridiculous?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, okay, why would you do that? Let's just pretend that you wanted to destroy a giant city that's actually quality and not basically a stage set.
Yeah.
So why would you do that? What would be the purpose behind that?
to erase the memory, according to him. I don't know why.
I mean, I guess
if we had found these amazing cities in America, you would think we would use them.
Oh, you would think.
According to them, it's more. We just destroyed them all for the fun of it, I guess.
Maybe we were so jealous. We were so jealous of their tech. We couldn't take it. We couldn't take that people before the light bulb were smarter than us. That's what it was. So we tore it all down, and we kept a few remnants left, and we said, aliens did it. Because we're smarter.
Burn the blueprint. Replace it with a new narrative. Now let's talk about architecture. All across the world, buildings from the 17th, 18th, and even early 20th centuries share the same impossible characteristics. Giant doorways, far too tall for human use.
Ironclad argument.
One word. Scaffolding. Anyway, sorry, going on.
They thought it looked neat.
Huh?
No,
They thought it looked neat.
They built them to fit the Nephilim, so the Nephilim could walk through it.
Right.
The Nephilim in the 1800s.
Yeah, because there were plenty of those left.
Windows halfway underground, as if the buildings were buried. Dome structures designed for hedge resonance, not fashion. Spires and antennas placed exactly where modern tech would put what's energy receivers. Ask yourself, why would a post-colonial town...
Yeah, I would need an example of that. Anyway.
The stupid hurts. Why would we build tall buildings unless we wanted to put antennas on top of them? What other possible reason would we build tall buildings, huh?
To have the tallest building than the other guy?
Yeah, it's called ego. Stop it. You're making too much sense, Trevor.
Same Greco-Roman architecture as a palace in St. Petersburg. Why would a prison in Australia have the same symmetrical layout as a fort in Tunisia?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe because desertion and prison escapes have something in common. I don't know.
Now the Tatarians controlled, like, literally the entire world. Australia, Tunisia, everything.
So it's like a global empire now, huh?
I guess. I guess that's their explanation.
That's bizarre. Okay.
Why do city grids from 300...
You do realize they did put antennas and metal rods on tops of buildings, even in the 1700s as lightning rods. Like, that was something Ben Franklin invented. And they thought he was a wizard. But I mean, it's conceivable he wasn't the first guy. I mean, I'm just saying.
No, clearly they had free energy and, like, energy receptors on top of their buildings. Huh?
F-sharp would charge your TV. So, yeah.
Years ago aligned perfectly with Vowel's sacred geometry. Why is
We've heard about sacred geometry, haven't we, Trevor?
We have.
We've done a couple videos on all that. Still don't know what it means, but we've done some videos on it.
is everywhere? Because Tartaria wasn't a country. It was a system. A civilization built on knowledge, resonance, architecture, and possibly even free energy. The buildings weren't just shelters. They were machines. And when the reset came, they couldn't risk us understanding that. Still not convinced? Let's revisit the mud flood.
Mud flood.
What flood?
Ooh, mud
The mud flood.
The mud flood.
All of these buildings, all of this was buried in mud.
Almost
And then we
like
built on top of it.
Covered the earth.
So are they? Well, wait, that would make it like antediluvian, or is this like a? Is that the right word, antediluvian, or?
Well, no, the mud flood happened in the 1800s, Gary.
Oh.
Yeah.
And we've
that's
just
what they
never heard
believe.
of it.
Yeah.
But why though? Why?
To
Why?
cover up the secret history of the world.
So
they
they
could-
cover.
Every single text we have that we have found from before the 1800s has been forged. Every single, like, we were talking about, the manuscripts of the Bible. Every single thing that has ever been written before the 1800s is a forgery and is a lie.
Oh, so they covered up the mud flood to cover up Tataria, to cover up the energy, that couldn't protect them from the mud flood.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure I'm tracking here. I mean, this is all we're going super deep.
In cities across Europe and America, entire first floors are buried beneath the ground. People dig up sidewalks only to find full doors, windows, even staircases underground. And what does the mainstream say? Construction error. Building codes.
No, they would call that archaeology. Like, that happens everywhere.
Buildings were built half in the ground all the time because it conserves heat better.
Yeah.
It's more insulated when it's half underground. Whatever.
Okay.
So they did that on purpose?
Don't worry.
A lot of the times, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
The basements always stay cooler than the upstairs because it's more insulated. So people built houses like half underground all the time.
Right.
Like a hobbit hole.
Yeah.
Worry about it.
That's what they're covering up, hobbits. That's what this is all
Makes
about.
more sense than Tataria.
Sauron won, guys.
But what if there was a cataclysm? A sudden flood of mud that swept through the cities of the old world. Not caused by nature, but by the reset. They didn't bury history. The reset did. And when the survivors emerged, they were told it was all new. This is the Tartaria conspiracy. That an ancient global civilization existed, built with sacred geometry, resonance-based technology, and free energy systems. That it left behind infrastructure we still can't explain. And that sometime in the 1800s, it was wiped from the record. The buildings were claimed, the maps rewritten, the knowledge sealed away. What we call history isn't a record of progress. It's a carefully curated script, built on ruins, edited for control. Because whoever controls the past controls the present. And Tartaria? Tartaria might be the missing chapter that explains on everything. Next time, on Beyond Official Records.
There's Tartaria.
So they're conflating the flood theory with some stupid empire that never existed.
But it happened in the 1800s.
But it happened in the 1800s.
Yep.
Okay, so
I'm confused.
on that last point, I got to make sure I'm getting the wording right. I'm going to Google that really quick. Hang on. It's antediluvian, right?
Yeah, antediluvian. You're right.
Okay. I wanted to make sure because I'd hate to be misstating that term. Yeah, antediluvian, a time before.
Ante means before. Diluvian is flood.
Okay, well. All right, great. So I was under the impression that like Atlantis and all that other stuff was like antediluvian, and it all got wiped out in the flood, and then we've kind of come up with this proto-world history thing.
Like a cataclysm that destroyed the civilized world in the flood. That's I'm all for that. That makes a lot of sense. But slapping it in the middle of the 1800s and every written record we have has been made up. It's like, what?
It just seems so pointless. It's like, why would you even try? Like, that's silly. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, so your great, 4 or 5 great grandfathers was like part of some giant, they survived an apocalypse and that didn't pass down.
They didn't tell anybody, didn't write it down. Yeah,
because I mean, the 1800s may seem long when you're, believe the world didn't start until, after you were born. But, 100 years, 200 years, that ain't that long. Like,
no.
That would pass on. So, that's kind of bizarre.
Like, we have records we have, like, videos, interviews, radio broadcasts of people in the early 1900s talking to people in the early 1800s that were born in the early 1800s.
Yeah, yeah. See, I think the first video was, I want to say 1898 was the first record. It's called The Garden Scene. And just some people walking in a circle in a garden. So, yeah, like we have footage from the 1800s. It was a thing. So, it existed.
1888.
1888, okay. So I was wrong. So it was 1888. Okay, so yeah, the garden scene was from 1888. Well, that's Tataria, boys and girls. If you learned nothing, neither did we. So
Napoleon didn't happen. The Civil War didn't happen. Nothing happened.
Wow. Now here's a conspiracy theory. The government made that theory up to waste your time. Don't fall for it. It's like AI. Okay. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode. Oh, sorry, Trevor. You got any final thoughts?
It's like Pizzagate.
Ow.
How?
What?
Trevor's not with us, boys and girls. That's okay. Look, we're going to go on to part 3. If you're with us on the live stream, stay with us because we're obviously moving on. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
On to part 3. I am of the opinion that since we watched an AI video, are you taking off, good sir?
Yeah, I got to take off.
All right.
Yep. I got to get.
He's going to take off.
All right. Adios, muchacho.
All right.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you.
All right. Talk to you later, guys.
See ya. All right, Mr. Trevor. I think. Well, he's getting off the thing there.
I don't know how.
Just hit leave. There you go.
What an exit! What an exit!
Oh, yeah. That was great.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right. Hang on here. I got to get us fixed. All right. We're fixed now.
Well, while you're fixing it, do you want me to do word of the day?
Cody gave us a word of the day. He said antiquitek.
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 An ancient, highly advanced technology which was lost for an extended period of time.
And well, there you go. Well, there you go.
Heck yeah.
Antiquitek.
Antiquitek.
It's ridiculous. All right. Well, I think since we have watched a horrible AI video.
But was it horrible?
Oh, yes. That was terrible. That was terrible. The robot couldn't even read half the words.
I noticed that it was like gibbering or gibberish or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. But AI is going to rule the world, everybody. Fear. Anyway, all right. Since we're done with that, I think it only makes sense to go on to the next subject. I think the third subject should be the digital hell grid activated, or what? Let's see. You were talking about Trump signing something called the Genius Act.
Yeah, Trump signed the Genius Act.
Well, before you get into it, lead us in.
Welcome to Faith Fiction and Folklore, or the Triad Podcast, where we try not to F it up. And today, with Gary, how are you?
Oh, I am all sorts of confused, and that video that we watched before was so stupid, I'm a little tired now.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of exhausted me to listen to it.
Well, this will wake you up.
Sweet. Maybe. All right, well, what are we talking about, Trevor?
We are going to listen to a guy named Gary Franchi on the Next News Network talking about Trump signing the Genius Act and how it's the mark of the beast.
The Genius Act is the mark of the beast.
I think that's what he was saying.
How many marks of the beast are we in now? It seems like everything's a mark of the beast now.
Oh, everything from Monster Energy drink to other things.
And the COVID shot, the jibby jab heard around the world.
The jibby jab
felt around the world. Yeah, felt around the world. That was supposed to be the mark of the beast. They're supposed to inject you with metal and track you so you can't buy or sell.
The China virus.
I don't know because they outlawed ESG here recently. So I don't know if this works, Trevor. But we'll see.
Oh, well, we'll see.
If it's illegal for the banks to cut you off, I don't know how this is going to do them any good. I mean, the FBI's already got pictures of me naked. I don't know what else they could possibly want from me. So
how'd they get pictures of you naked?
I'm sure they found a way. My FBI agent knows me very well. So anyway,
where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way. Okay, So let's watch the digital hell grid activated by the Next News Network. All right.
They named it after him, the Genius Act. Trump says it's...
Dude, he's got my hair.
Like I said, he's like you.
Oh, no.
It's a guy named Gary.
It's like looking into a mirror.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. What are we going to do now?
Yeah. This is you if you did news.
This is me if I did news.
Yeah. So we need to start a segment and call it Gary News.
I don't know if that would end well for me. This guy looks like he might be a little stressed. Anyway.
Oh, he is stressed.
We'll go on. We'll see how this goes.
It's freedom. But you got to read the fine print. Dollar stable coins have federal approval, but who controls the dollars? Who tracks the transactions?
He had some connection errors recording this, so that'll be him with the problems.
Okay, so he's going to have tech problems. All right.
Yeah, he had tech problems on this episode.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, is there a timestamp you want us to move to?
No, I was just going to play it, most of it for you, or half of it, or whatever.
Thank you, Jess. Jess says, you're cuter. Well, since you're married to me, I certainly hope so. You're very sweet. Thank you. So anyway, all right. I appreciate the compliment. All right, let's see here. Let's do this. Okay.
They promised no central bank digital currency while creating the infrastructure for one. Gary Gensler is gone, but who replaces him? Another swamp creature? The same government that weaponized the IRS, the FBI, and DOJ now wants to regulate your crypto. You see, they call it protection, but history calls it control. Every financial innovation starts with promise of liberty and ends with chains. Is this really crypto?
So he's mad because this thing's going to regulate crypto. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, basically it's
Okay.
like some sort of cap, I think. I don't know exactly the details.
I don't own crypto. Like I in my ignorant mind, you're better off stocking up salt if you're going to prepare for the end of the world. But I mean, hey, crypto could work in the current economy, I suppose.
I put $5 on it.
I mean, well, it's all monopoly money anyway. But like nothing is real. There is no such thing as real money right now. We've been off the gold standard for 30 years. It's all perception. It's all fake.
I have made like 30 cents off of my $5. So,
well, you're the next Mark Zuckerberg. You're on your way. Anyway.
Freedom, or are we watching digital enslavement get a MAGA makeover? The devil is in the details, so keep watching. While politicians promise crypto freedom through new regulations, remember that true wealth protection comes from assets government cannot control digitally. As we navigate uncertain financial futures where every transaction could be tracked, physical assets matter more than ever. That's why I trust ageless collagen, a real tangible investment in your...
Oh yeah, hey, that's his
collagen?
That's one of his what do you call them? People that give you money for your show.
Yeah, he sponsors. He's got a sponsor. No, I'm not again. I'm not complaining about the sponsor. It's just a segue. Guys, if you're worried about the end of the world, don't invest in collagen. That's a terrible idea. Invest in anything else. Like literally anything else. Lipstick. Most people can't say most people can't even say collagen.
What is it?
It's for your skin.
Oh.
It makes your skin all fluffy or something. Soft.
So I
stretchy.
need it.
So it can heal. So you look younger. Folks, if you're starving, you're not going to care. Don't invest in collagen. Do literally anything else. Dig a well. Buy a puppy. Anything. Anyway.
Buy a cat.
But yeah, if you want pretty skin, collagen, I guess.
Health that no algorithm can devalue. 5 collagen types from 4 premium sources, providing real results.
I guess it could help you run. If it's a zombie apocalypse, invest in collagen. You'll need the support for your knees.
can see and feel. No digital intermediaries, no blockchain required, just pure health benefits. Get 51% off at healthwithgary.com because while they debate digital currencies, your body needs real physical support today. Healthwithgary.com. All right, so I posted this just before we went live. This act, is it a Trojan horse for financial control? The Genius Act may claim to boost crypto, but it arms the state with real-time spending, surveillance, programmable controls, and centralized control over stablecoins.
Watch how smart POD sellers turn one design into 10 different bestsellers.
Can I have an ad, please?
Yeah, for side of
While we
collagen.
support crypto and applaud real Trump for opposing a Fed-issued CBDC, this bill falls short, risking risking privacy, financial freedom, placing all transaction data at government mercy. We need true decentralization and constitutional safeguards, not programmable money. So what is actually...
Okay, so first of all, I'm not an economist. Don't take your financial advice from me. I'm an idiot. With that disclaimer said, I highly doubt that if there is an end of the world scenario where things are like bad enough that you would actually need a Bitcoin to survive against like a government takeover or something, your hope is not going to be in the stock market.
Why not?
Regardless of what it is, because they can turn off your lights. You're connected to the grid.
Oh.
If they can shut off your internet, good luck getting to your financial advisor. I mean, it's just... like, this whole premise is just silly to me. It's like, yes, boys and girls, in the event that the grid goes down, trust the electronic currency. You're better off growing corn if it's going to get as bad as all that. Now, if you're wanting something that might grow for your retirement, it might be a different animal. I don't know. I'm not a financial advisor. But if we're talking Mad Max Thunderdome, why would you waste your time with this? I don't understand it. But I don't understand investing in any of this at all in a Mad Max Thunderdome scenario. So, like, what kind of end-of-the-world apocalypse scenario are we talking about here?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. This seems a little... I wouldn't be too worried.
In the bill, it establishes a federal framework for payment stablecoins requiring one-to-one fiat backing, monthly reserve disclosures, and audits for large issuers. It aims to regulate issuers, banks, and non-banks, defining stablecoins distinctly from securities or commodities. The risks under the surface enables programmable digital money, transaction filters, blocks, reversals, expiration clauses, all potentially enforceable in real time by regulators. Creates a centralized ledger exposing complete transaction histories to government oversight. Now, what are the positives? Now, Trump's signing shows a continued push for private crypto innovation and explicitly rejects a Fed-issued CBDC for now. Provides regulatory clarity, backing for on-chain dollars, and aligns with crypto-friendly policy under Trump, according to Vanity Fair. The bottom line, the Genius Act is a step forward, but it's not the full embrace of decentralization that we need. Guardrails on stablecoins are great, but without privacy protections and constitutional limits, programmable money could morph into a digital leash. So let's champion crypto's promise, not a state-controlled version.
Okay, so this sounds like Trump did something in the right direction. Like, most of this is going over my head. Money is not my thing. But this sounds like Trump's preventing the, what do you call it, the FDC or whatever? The federal FDC. Banking people, the guys that would really hate this. It sounds like he's doing something that kind of provides a bulwark against them anyway. So I don't know why. Why is this the mark of the beast?
He gets into that like at the end of the video somewhere.
Then we need to get to the end of the video because I'm not tracking very well. Look, if your government is going to go tyrannical, you are going to need a black market. But your black market isn't going to do any good unless you actually have some way to establish a rate of exchange. That means cash crops, something physical that you can trade, that you can hypothetically base a currency on. And then you have to have some way to protect all of that because there's going to be some dude who's going to try to set the rates at the point of a gun who isn't the government. So I don't even know why you would waste time with the stock market if you're trying to like defend yourself against the Fed. Because if the Fed really goes dark, you're not connected to the internet in the first place. Like, you're homesteading and pooping in a barrel. Like, you're not, stocks are not going to be on your radar, I wouldn't think.
They might be.
Oh, I doubt it. I hope you're good at growing corn.
No, I'm terrible at growing corn.
So you're going to die in the apocalypse. That's what you're saying.
I've tried growing corn, and I found out later I didn't grow enough. Like, I tried like 5 or 6 stalks. Apparently you're supposed to grow it in like mass amounts. Otherwise, it doesn't grow hardly at all.
I don't know, man. I'm not sure how it works. I had some pretty good luck with tobacco. But anyway, point is, you need something to actually create a rate of exchange. Some way to create a rate of exchange. So just to show how important it is, you know those helicopters that are flying over your house looking for pot plants back in the day when pot was illegal? They're going to do that with corn.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, they're going to do that to keep you from growing things that you can actually trade. Like, that's how, like, it's really going to go if you're trying to establish, like, a currency that doesn't connect to, like, the banking system or whatever. And it's going to be extremely localized. And, yeah, like, this whole idea, I guess I disagree fundamentally, unless there's somebody who is an economist who knows what they're talking about. Just conceptually, as a novice, I would disagree just with the whole general theory of trying to create a protection against the government using a system that is in some way, shape, or form connected to the government. And the stock market is connected to the government. If it's electronic, if there's big money involved, it's going to be connected to the government. So I don't even understand why you would waste your time having this debate with this stuff. I mean, I guess if you time it right and you get out before the government like closes in on everything.
No.
Say you've managed to squirrel away 1 billion Bitcoin or whatever it is, or $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, however that works. You might be able to get out of the country and get into some place like Chile with it in time, maybe, if you get out at the right moment. But that's the name of the game with the stock market. It's all like timing and being there at exactly the right place and time, and it's luck. It's not gambling necessarily, but there's a degree of gambling to it.
Yeah.
Because it's like poker. It's a combination of knowing the right things and getting the right hand at the right moment. And to me, I don't trust my luck that much. So I never invested in it.
So if I could throw my $5 in my Cash App real quick and then take the cash out at my nearest ATM, would that work?
Like right now, I'm just saying if like, you know,
if
things got bad and the government went full tyrannical, like this stuff isn't going to be around in any universe.
Oh.
I wouldn't think. And even if this stuff was valid, they would find a way around it by simply like cutting off your access to your bank account or whatever accounts you have. It's like if they serve up a bulwark in one quadrant of the stock market, they'll just find a way to block your money in another quadrant. So if they can't shut down or get control of Bitcoin, then they'll shut down the company or the bank that's holding your Bitcoin. Or they'll get to the financial advisor that helped you get the Bitcoin or something. You know, like it's a cat and mouse game. I just don't see how you could win. But again, I'm not an economist. I wouldn't know.
You sounded like one. You're doing pretty good at it.
Well, that's because I'm full of crap. No,
that's
just my intuition. That's my intuition. I don't see how in the world you would really be able to prepare against any kind of catastrophe with a currency like that. Like, I don't understand how that could possibly work. You know, I think one of the guys who went and established Bitcoin or helped establish Bitcoin, what is his name? Good night. I have his book. Hang on a second. I have his book on Amazon because I was going to read it and try to learn about this weird world I don't understand. So what was his name? Hang on a minute. I have it in my cart, or I have it saved somewhere. Give me a second. What was it?
Who established Bitcoin?
Okay, here we go.
Satoshi Nakamoto?
It's in Spanish. Why is this in Spanish? How did I end up with... See, that's just what I'm talking about. Let me ask you a question. Why would I order this in Portuguese? This was in my cart. See what I'm talking about? The government could do anything at any time, folks. That was in English when I first got it. Roger Ver. That was the dude I'm talking about. Author Roger Ver. And, of course, they took me to a bunch of books that have nothing to do with Roger Ver. Again, the Fed. This is what I'm talking about. They screw with you.
They're watching us.
Yeah, Hijacking Bitcoin is the name of the book. Why it was in Portuguese, okay. I don't know. But see what I'm talking about? Roger Ver. Roger Ver.
Or Roger Ver.
Roger Ver. I don't know. I'm an idiot. The spelling is right there. I was going to buy it, and for some reason, it was in Portuguese. The Fed's squirrely, man. I'm telling you. And I think that guy, if I might look this up again. Hang on
Roger Ver?
Yeah. Roger. Let me Google something really quick. Yes, Roger Ver was arrested in Spain. So, see, They got him. Roger Ver was arrested in Spain in connection with U.S. criminal charges related to tax evasion. Yeah, so if they can't get you with some bullcrap regulation of Bitcoin, they'll get you at the bank. They'll get you through tax evasion. They will find a way to take your money if they're going to go full totalitarian. And it looks like they went full totalitarian on this guy because he wrote a book about something that might hypothetically work. Because I don't believe for a second this guy committed tax evasion. Bull crap. I do not believe for a second that guy did anything wrong. And I know nothing about this. I just know if they want to get you, they will. And so the only way to prevent them from getting you or taking your money is to find ways to do things without their knowledge. So,
like growing corn.
Like growing corn. Like finding a rate. Well, the corn's hypothetical. Point is, if people are starving, they're going to want corn, and you can establish a rate of exchange with people who are hungry enough. You have to find ways to establish a rate of exchange within a community. I don't see how in the world messing around with stocks and playing games with these people that have already rigged the game against you in the first place is going to do you any good.
It's called gambling.
It's called gambling. And what do they say about gambling, Trevor? Even if it's poker, what do they say about gambling?
I don't know who the they is.
Well, in this case, it would be the Fed.
Oh.
What do they say about gambling?
They say, go gamble, because then you can make us money.
They say the house always wins.
Oh.
The house always wins. The Fed will find a way to beat you if you play in their sandbox.
What if I own
If you
part
are
of the
connected
house?
in any way, shape, or form to their sandbox, they will beat you. The reason Trump, for example, is a threat to these people is because he made his own money and couldn't be easily bought off. He was in a different club, not a part of their sandbox. So, and yeah, he had stocks and all the rest of it. It's a sloppy analogy. I know, I get it. Sue me. But the point is, the more connected you are to their stuff, the less likely it is you're actually going to survive. So I don't even know why you'd be playing in the stock game in the first place. But that's me speaking as a novice.
To earn money?
To earn money. Well, just like in stocks and all that stuff in the first place. Like if the government really is going to go tyrannical, that like nothing's real until it's in your hand. That's kind of the way I look at it. That's my philosophy. Everything's hypothetical until like you can hold it. Otherwise, you know, like $20 isn't $20 like until you have the bill in your hand or you have somebody who's willing to accept it as $20. Like, I don't know, just money and stocks and stuff. It's like, well, okay, hypothetically you own this, but or you're worth this, but I mean, are you really? It's like, if they can get to it, I don't see how you actually own anything. Like, look at the Tate brothers, you know?
Yeah.
They had all those cars, and then the government just took them because of some random bullcrap charge that wasn't real. And so what did they do? They put the cars in other people's names so the Fed couldn't take it. Take them.
Smart.
Yeah, but that's what you have to do. It's like, rich people technically don't actually own anything. They find other ways to label their money so the government doesn't realize it's theirs. That's what rich people really do. Like, they don't actually own stuff.
They just borrow everything.
Well, they don't necessarily borrow. They just squirrel it away under different labels. But on paper, from the perspective of a stock...
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So I'm told. But again, I'm not an expert. So that's just my opinion on all that. Okay, so we can keep going.
I'm having trouble finding where he talked about it being... It might just be clickbait.
That would be my suspicion.
This was like 3 weeks ago when I listened to this, and I was like, ooh, that might be a good idea.
Well, they scream everything in the dog is the apocalypse. I mean, it's like everything's a mark of the beast system. Just like AI is going to take over everything, even though it can't even say words right. It's ridiculous. It's just hype.
You can skip to 425, where he moves on to Representative Caston.
All right, we'll do a little bit on Representative Caston, and then we'll call it good.
Or Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Or Marjorie Taylor Greene. That might work better. Where's
That's
she at?
546, 545.
Here we go. All right, what does she have to say about it? I like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's see what she has to say. All right.
Not included. Gives people the ability to maintain self-custody of their digital assets. They're trying to take custody of your investments. Isn't that one reason crypto is so attractive? Let's listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
And the Genius Act has already passed the Senate. President Trump is urging us in the House to pass this bill. He's posted it on Truth Social. Leadership is urging us to pass this bill, but I just want to give you a brief description in the bill. There's two things that are in his executive order that are not in the Genius Act. One of them is giving people the ability to maintain self-custody of digital assets. That's incredibly important to people that own cryptocurrency, stablecoins. And then the second thing that is not in the Genius Act, but is in his executive order, is a complete prohibition, a ban, central bank digital currency in the United States and abroad.
That is good.
And so here's the problem with the Genius Act.
Okay, so if I heard that right, make sure I heard that right. They are banning or trying to ban the global currency thing.
Yeah.
That is very good because the plan, and they've also banned ESG, which is along the same lines, because the plan is start a global currency that's digitally based, and then the second you speak out against the government or whatever, they cut your funding off. They shut your bank account down. They don't let you buy or sell. That is the mark of the beast system. That's what that actually is in practicality. You know, maybe they'll make us take a mark on our palm or our hand, top of our hand or forehead or whatever, but whether they do that or not, like when people talk about the mark of the beast system, that's what they mean. You shut up, or we take away your money.
Yeah.
And we can do it at the drop of a hat. And they were trying to implement that already.
Yeah, I have heard that some people are already putting the chips in like their hands and whatnot. And it's just like their credit card or debit card.
Yeah, that's happened for forever. There was a girl in Australia who did that, and she smarted off, and they shut down her account and carted her to jail like the next day. It was during COVID, and she complained about some regulation, and they were like, "How dare you?" She didn't even have the thing for like 48 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's what they want. That's what the goal has been. And so to try to ban that is very good. That's a very good thing. We do not want that.
We do not want the one world government.
Yeah, well, you don't want banks to be able to shut off your money because you pop off, you know.
They didn't give us a chance to introduce amendments. The House leadership did not allow us to do that.
Trump needs us to raise the alarm.
That's right, Alex. They do. They run articles against us. They have paid influencers that post against us. And the Genius Act has already passed the...
So what did President Trump say? It did pass today. This morning, President Trump signed it into law. Let's check in with Allison. She is one of the... Allison Steinberg. She is one of the reporters at Lindell TV. Let's get the Lindell TV take.
Name of the beast. Revelation 13, verse 16 through 17 says, "It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to leave a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name." What happens when the government can freeze your bank account without even charging you with a crime?
President Trump wrote an executive order on January 23rd, and specifically on exactly what the Genius Act is about, except they did not include what was in his executive order, which is a ban on a central bank digital currency.
The Genius Act creates a government-regulated digital dollar called a stablecoin that many argue is a central bank digital currency in disguise. Stablecoins would likely replace all physical cash. And under the Genius Act, your digital wallet could be frozen if you violate any federal or state regulation, even if it was never passed by Congress. Remember the COVID vaccine man?
So they're saying that the stable coin is essentially the same thing as a digital currency. Did I hear that correctly?
I think so.
You know, same thing as a global digital currency.
Yeah.
See, that would be a bad thing.
So I need to invest in stablecoin.
No, Trevor, that would be playing into the system. That's the wrong lesson to take away from that. You need to grow corn. Anyway.
But isn't it smart to keep your enemies close?
No, that's how they track you.
Right, so you want them close to you so you can keep an eye on them.
That was something Pippin said to lie to Treebeard. What you're talking about is putting on the Ring of Power and dancing in front of Sauron.
I have one of those.
That would be a bad thing.
Oh, you can't see it. It's
Ring
right
of
here.
Power?
Yeah. Do you want me to go get it?
No.
Oh.
Why would I want that?
I have one.
That's okay. I believe you. Don't put it on, Trevor. Don't put on the Ring of Power. Don't invest in stablecoin or whatever it is. Don't connect yourself to the Fed if you can help it.
I think I'll have to wear it next week.
An X3?
No, wear it next week.
Next week.
The Ring of Power.
Okay, so we can have this conversation all over again. I can tell you how wrong you are. That'll work. All right.
Mandates, the Biden administration enforced them not through Congress, but through an executive order. Millions were fired. Now imagine being locked out of your savings for refusing a future mandate. Over in Australia, people were physically detained in quarantine camps. In America, the soft power version would be freezing your finances and calling it public safety. The White House maintains that the Genius Act will not usher in a CBDC.
This piece of legislation is going to make America the crypto capital of the world, and that's what the president promised. As for a central bank digital currency, the president opposes that. He made that promise to the American people on the campaign.
I'm also making a promise to protect Americans from government tyranny. As your president, I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency.
Even though President Trump signed an executive order back in January banning CBDCs, the Genius Act lets big banks create private sector versions, still programmable and still controlled.
And if you look at what they're doing with the Genius Act and stablecoin, he said no CBDCs. The guys who own the New York Fed are all going to create subsidiaries and issue stablecoin, which will be interoperable, can work with a social credit system.
Stablecoins can be programmed exactly like how we fear.
So it sounds like Trump's trying to get rid of these things.
Or at least pause it, slow it down.
Yeah.
At least.
Get rid of it, slow it down. But the beautiful Fed, being the people that they are trying to use this stablecoin as a workaround. And they got some elaborate means to, get to the same end through like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or some such thing.
I like bacon.
I don't know if my analogy was bad or if you're just exhausting me. But that's okay. All right, have we kicked this dead horse enough, Mr. Trevor?
Let's kick the dead horse no more.
No more, okay. Well, guys, if you want to watch the rest of this, and if you want to watch my doppelganger, apparently, go to Mark of the Beast confirmed. Can't buy food without Genius Act chip. Revelation 13 is now by the Next News Network. Not hyperbolic at all, but if you want to watch it, it's there. So, all right. Well, gentlemen, that is part 3.
Thank you.
Are we going to go on to part 4?
Yeah, I can push through.
You got one more on you? Okay. Well, if you're watching us in the live stream, stay with us. We got one more left. And if you're watching this after the fact, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Trevor. So, what is the last one? Let's see. Oh, we forgot to listen to that guy's rebuttal of the point. Dadgum. Maybe next time. I don't know. All right. Anyway, so Trevor, how about you lead us in?
What's his name? Hang on.
Chad Wright.
Chad Wright.
How about you lead us in, since this was your subject?
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or the Tri-F podcast, where we try to do our best not to F it up. And today, this episode, we're going to talk about Chad Wright on the Joe Rogan Experience. So, Chad Wright runs the 3 of 7 project, and he was on the Joe Rogan Experience, and he was talking about, for the first hour, they talked about just shooting like squirrels and hunting and whatnot. And then he got into his personal testimony, and I thought that was worth a share. So,
all right.
If you'll go ahead and hit play.
We will hit play. All right. So this is Chad Wright on Joe Rogan.
It's probably a natural function of keeping a balance. Like all of nature has a balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can imagine if mosquitoes lived 1,000 years, what a fucking pain in the ass that would be. No, they get a couple, but how long does a mosquito live? A week?
Mm-hmm.
How long does a fly live? A week? Good. Because otherwise we'd be fucked. A deer, a good deer that's like the best days of its life. It's like 13 years, it's done. It's over. It's limping. It's gonna get torn apart by coyotes. Whatever gets it. Everything has a time, because if it didn't, then there'd be too many people. There'd be too many animals. The balance would be all fucked up.
That's a great answer, man.
The thing is, there's a lot of scientists that are working on that, and a lot of scientists that I've talked to that are treating aging like a disease. So instead of just accepting the fact, like, oh, you're 50 now, things are slowing down, like, well, why are they slowing down, and what can we do to reverse that?
I love thinking along those lines, man. Like, I love that.
At the very least, what it does is improves your performance radically as an older person.
Mm-hmm.
Improves your physical performance. Is what people would be capable of naturally with no supplements 20, 30 years ago. It's a very different world today. Very, very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
And with all the different modalities, all the different things you could do, like hyperbaric treatments, NMN, supplementation, red light therapy, cold plunge, sauna, all these different things radically change the composition of your body and your overall metabolic health. Radically changes it. And then with hormone therapy and all the other different things that you can do, I mean, it's just because of science and because of people figuring these things out, it's a radically different world than it was in the past.
But is there a solution? Like, is there a fix for death? Like, is anyone searching or even
Yes.
contemplating that?
Oh, yeah. David Sinclair's all over that. He's a guy from Harvard that we've had on the podcast a few times. That's his primary study. They're treating aging as a disease and trying to figure out what different types of medication, what different types of therapies, what's the root cause of the cells aging and not reproducing correctly.
It's an ugly thing, man.
Oh, it gets rough, especially if you don't take care of yourself. You know, that's...
I'm a little dubious about them getting anywhere with that particular problem. just a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, he starts talking about his testimony at here in just a minute. It's around the 1 hour mark.
1 hour mark. All right.
So we can keep listening or skip forward if you want.
All right, we will try 159.
So I started researching this. What the crap is going on
God,
here?
I wish you asked him what he was reaching for.
You watch. I found this hospice nurse on Instagram. I don't remember her name, but she's like posting all these videos of people doing this exact thing. They're reaching for stuff, and she's a hospice nurse.
Did
right?
you save it? Do you have it on your phone?
I don't have it. I don't remember.
Is he talking about NDEs?
Yeah, he got into talking about when he first had an encounter with the Lord.
Okay.
And this was one of his best friends was passing away from cancer, I think it was. And his buddy was reaching right before he passed.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
they're talking about NDEs and stuff.
Gotcha.
She's got a lot of following. She's got a big following. Just look up
Jamie will probably find it.
hospice nurse on Instagram or whatever. But she posts all these videos of these people.
Is this her? Oh, they're reaching.
They're calling out. I don't know if that's not her, but this is another one. That's not the one I watch.
Calling it a death reach.
It's a very common thing, and they're calling out a lot of times the names of loved ones that have passed before them. Whoa. They're seeing something they're seeing into the other realm. Oh, it's that lady on the far right over there. That's the one I watch. She's a little crazy, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, she puts out some wild stuff, man. This is common stuff, man.
What's her name, Jamie? It says below, hospice nurse Penny.
Before their death, when they're able to tell us what they're seeing, when they're able to tell us about these visions, they're almost always above them or up in the corner of the room. But sometimes as they get closer to the end of life and they're no longer able to communicate, we start seeing them reach into the air. So I'm convinced that when they are reaching into the air, they are reaching towards those people who they love, who have died before them.
This woman's not a believer. And as far as I know, I don't know what her, how her worldview is on in terms of what happens after this. But she's just sitting here showing you, saying, "Hey, this happens.
Yeah,
we can't figure out why."
If you're wanting to hear something related to that subject or read something related to that subject, you can go read the book from the Discovery Institute, The Immortal Mind by Michael Egner and Denise O'Leary. This is the hardcover, The Immortal Mind. This is talking about NDEs. So just another book if you're interested on that subject. So sorry, we'll move on. What happened? There we go. Apologies.
We can't figure out what's going on. Obviously, for me, when I see that happening, when Mr. Don sits up in the bed, even though he's literally paralyzed by a stroke, he sits, it's an impossibility. He sits up in his bed and reaches both hands in the air and then lays down and departs the tent. What do I have to believe that, his transportation had arrived. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to witness that, how does that not strengthen
Yeah.
You're witnessing something that's tangible. It's like, how does that not strengthen at least your faith that there is something coming after this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
there's so many stories. And the thing is, people have this arrogant assumption, and this is a lot of based on academics and science, and this belief that we have all the answers to reality, when we don't even really understand consciousness. We don't. Consciousness is a massive mystery. So this idea that we've got it solved, and when I hear people say, when you die, that's it, it's over. Like, how do you know? You're just saying this. You're just saying this. That is as much of a belief system as any religion. This belief in something that you have no evidence of whatsoever, but there's so many anecdotal stories of people with near-death experiences, including Sebastian Junger. Do you know who he is?
I've heard the name.
Brilliant journalist. He is a great author. He's written some incredible books. He did Restrepo, right? Documentary about the war, and he's just an amazing, interesting, very, very intelligent guy. And the last time he was on the podcast, he was telling us a story about he had a medical emergency, some sort of was like an artery burst, right, Jamie? Yeah. Something inside of his abdomen, and he was bleeding out on the inside, and he was dying. And he got to the hospital and had this near-death experience that, like, very, very vivid experience, interacting with his father, like, just beyond anything that he would have ever comprehended, and came back with a completely different perspective on life and death and, like, what this is, and that there is something else. There's something out there. And people that have had near-death experiences or died and been resuscitated, they come back with the same fucking story over and 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 over again. There's not a lot of variation. There's different interpretations of what they're seeing, but it all fits within the same framework. It all fits within a framework that there's something there.
Did you see the video of this kid like a couple weeks ago?
No.
He's having a wild experience where he sees Jesus, he sees his dead father.
Come on, man.
Says it's beautiful.
Why is this kid?
I miss my mom. My hair case.
I think he was sick and he's coming out of surgery. I don't know the exact story on what was happening to him.
Jesus.
This video goes on long. It's a 10-minute video, but
whoa.
He's in a dream. He's dreaming.
Yeah, he's dreaming all right.
Yeah.
He's seeing into the next realm.
Yeah.
I want this hot chicken.
Yeah.
Well,
crazy. You could dismiss that. You could dismiss that if you wanted to.
Yeah, you can, man. But look, man, I don't even need all these signs and wonders. Like, I don't even need all that, man. I mean, it's great when you get the opportunity to witness things like I got to witness with my friend, Mr. Don, and just see his faith and see that the Word manifest power in him. Like, it's great when you get to see it, but you can get too carried away with all that stuff too. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, man. You know, I'm wondering, Joe, if the Almighty ain't calling you.
Calling me how? On the phone?
Calling you, man.
What do you mean? In what way?
I'm just wondering. I think a lot of people are wondering what the Almighty is doing, what He's working in you.
He's a lot more receptive than he was years ago.
Yeah,
I remember when he started out, it's like, dude, I did not want to listen to him whenever he was talking about religion and stuff because he was way too dismissive.
Yeah, that's
that
actually kind of where I wanted to talk about was Joe sat there and listened to this guy's like full story and testimony, whereas before he wouldn't have done that.
No, he wouldn't have.
Anyway, so if you want to move on to the next video.
Yeah, all right, let's move on.
Chad Wright.
We do need to talk about NDEs. We have not talked about NDEs yet.
We should do
that is a
on
very
that.
broad subject, but yes, there's a lot of good stuff on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chad Wright goes on his 3 of 7 project channel, and he just talks about what happened and basically tells Joe thank you for letting him on and what he experienced. So we can listen to it if you want to, or...
Yeah, that'd be fine. All right.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I haven't done a truck talk here on this channel in quite a while, but I figured I'd take just a moment to discuss with you guys what happened on the podcast that I did with Joe, because I'm getting a lot of messages and people saying this and that. So, man, I want to be up front with y'all. I'm back here in the country. Listen, I don't know if y'all can hear those cicadas in the background. Glad to be home. But what I wanted to tell you, first of all, is a lot of people are talking about this and that, but whatever opinions you might have about Joe, I want to tell you what I experienced during the time I spent with him. Joe literally embraced me, like with his arms, when we met for the first time. Him and his team made sure that we had everything that we needed while we were there. Extremely respectful. Joe even drove his Land Cruiser to the studio that day because he knew I liked Land Cruisers, so I could check out his rig. Whatever opinions you have about this guy, I want to tell you, the time I spent with him, he was an outstanding human being. And not to mention not all the hospitality, but above and beyond that, do y'all understand what he allowed me to do? He allowed me to come on the thing that he has built, that he's spent decades building, this podcast, and he allowed me to share my experience, my testimony, and this faith that I have. Even though we don't have that in common, him and I, not yet anyways. But he allowed that to happen without interruption. There were plenty of times that he could have made me look like a fool. Because let me tell you, he's far smarter than I am. That's
Very
saying
humble.
a lot about him. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. Other thing people are saying is, boy, Chad, you're bold. You have no fear to go on here and share what you shared on this big show here. But let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I was very afraid. So all of y'all think that I ain't got no fear, that I'm bold and all this stuff. I was very afraid. I was a daggone nervous wreck. I don't usually get that way. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you.
Don't blame him at all. I'd be scared out of my mind as well.
Yeah, especially he was just giving his whole testimony right there to Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so interesting and very impactful.
Well, to say, I wonder if the Almighty's calling you. That took a lot of guts as well.
It
I
did.
imagine that was very scary.
Yeah. Well, anyways, yeah.
I wasn't ready.
You're going to say something, Trevor?
I was going to say, if you want to move on to what he does.
Okay, yeah. So we've got the 3 of 7 project.
this is their project, basically. They him and a couple of his buddies, they will take you on a 24-hour walk, trek through the woods, train you how to shoot, train you how to live off the land, and they push you to your limits. And I actually wanted to try it. So you can go on his channel, and he has the link to this, and sign up for it. And I just thought it was really cool.
Yep, so the website is 3 of 7 Project. Well, right here we got 3of7projectstore.com. That's the link, 3of7projectstore.com. I imagine if you just say 3 of 7 Project, you'll be able to find it.
Yeah, probably.
So, yeah. Any other thoughts on this?
No, I just thought it was just a really cool story to share with everybody.
That's a very cool story. We've got about 11 minutes before we're done. So, we want to talk a little bit about NDEs for the remainder.
Gonna switch over to NDEs.
Yeah, just for a few minutes. You got any thoughts on them? Or any experiences or things you've heard of?
I think they're real. I think people have NDEs all the time.
I would agree with that sentiment. There's a lot of really neat stories out there.
And I've got one on one of my lists. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, go ahead, man. While he's doing that, I'll just pull up Mike Neil Egner, who's a neurosurgeon. He does a lot of really great stuff on NDEs. He's got a Wikipedia page even. He's got his spot on Discovery Institute. He's one of the authors of The Immortal Mind. Let's see if I was just clicking on all these pages and you weren't even able to see it. What's wrong with me? Anyway, so there's his book, The Immortal Mind. While Trevor's looking for that, we'll talk about that for a minute. He's done a lot of, he's a neurosurgeon. That's basically the only way to put it. He's found a lot of instances where the current theory about how the mind works, the current theories about how the mind works are probably not correct. He has some instances of children not really being able to, they don't have brains, and yet they're still able to function. So if they don't really have brains, or they only have pieces of their brain, and yet they're still able to function, some of them, like normal kids for the most part, then how in the world can the mind be like the seat of everything about concerning who we are? So he's got a lot of really interesting stuff here. You can see a conversation he's had with Fred Turk. He has some stuff on the YouTube channel Discovery Science. And let's see here. We'll pull up this link that Trevor has for me really quick.
Yeah.
And we will explore that for a minute. Hang on.
That's Howard Pittman and his near-death experience.
Howard Pittman, and here's his near-death experience. All right, let me switch over here. It'd help if I was a little more coordinated. I could do this more efficiently.
His story was very interesting.
Okay.
It's 30 minutes long, but...
Well, we can at least get the conversation keyed up and maybe talk about it next week or something. Perhaps. Let's see.
Yeah, you can skip the intro.
The day he died. All right, let's just start from dying and entering the world.
19 miles before we reached that hospital, I lost consciousness. I passed into a world of darkness. I mean, it was so dark that there's no words in the human language to describe crossing the veil. But I passed out in this darkness. I really felt abandoned, all alone. First time I'd ever experienced that kind of darkness. There was no light. And then all of a sudden I saw something that come right out of the top of that darkness. And it was like a tape that was just twirling around like this as it come down. You ever seen those Confederate parades in New York where they throw that confetti out the window and just twirls down? That's what the thing looked like, a single one. And it came, and I watched it. It came all the way down right in front of me. Now, I can't tell you how I saw it because I saw it with no light. No light at all. It's total darkness. But I saw this thing. Just like this tape, it comes right in front of my eyes and turns just like that 3 times. And every time it turned, I'm reading it. It's a verse of Scripture, Hebrews chapter 9, verse 27. It is appointed unto all men once to die, after this the judgment. It is appointed unto all men once to die after judgment. 3 times that thing turned. And 3 times I read it. When I realized then, this was God's way of supernaturally revealing to me that I had met my appointed time to die. We all know we got to die. But you know, being human, we've dealt with that. We dealt with it in our subconscious. Actually, in reality, we look at death, physical death, as something that happens to others. It don't happen to others. We just put it out of our mind and keep going. If it didn't, it'd drive us crazy. We just put it out of our mind and keep going. But when you come to the realization that it's not others, it's you, it takes on a whole new perspective then. I didn't want to die. I left home to win an election, not to die. To die would be total defeat. So I prayed a very short and pointed prayer. I asked God to extend my life. I was familiar with the fact that he has a precedent in his word for extending life. Of course, he extended Hezekiah's life for 15 years. And I knew that. So I asked him to extend my physical life. And then that's when I had the first ever supernatural encounter. Out of that vast darkness come the most beautiful voice I've ever heard in my life. There's no music created that would any way mimic the beauty of that sounding of that voice. As the voice spoke to me, the voice said to me, "Stop. No more pain. Peace, rest, security, all that you've ever wanted, just don't breathe." I'm breathing by willpower at that point. Every breath, it took all the strength I could get in, and when I got in the area, it took all the strength I had to get it out. I'm breathing by willpower. And he's telling me, "Stop, don't breathe." And my spirit was saying to me, "Listen, God's speaking." God speaking, said, "Don't breathe." And then I got to try to shut it down, what I'm doing. And then the realization hit me as though I screamed as loud as I could in my spirit. "No, what am I doing? I just asked God to extend my life. Don't breathe, I'm going to die." "You are not God." With that exclamation, Satan fled from me.
So this voice, you had just asked the Lord to spare your life, and a beautiful voice said, "Just let go."
Yeah, but look what he said. Listen, you see, just what he said tells what I'd been taught all my security. Security. That's what Baptists teach. Once you save forever, no matter what. That's what they teach. Security. And he used that on me right away. The first thing he used, security, peace, rest. All you've ever wanted, just stop breathing. There, in the valley of death, at the door, he lied to me. He told me he was God. He couldn't kill me. He had to get me to kill myself. You better know the spirit that speaks to you. We're all going to come to that same place. I call it the veil. The veil is not in this world, and it's not in the other world. It's the door between the two. We all got to go that way. Christians refer to it as crossing Jordan. It's when we pass from this life to the life to come. Once you cross that veil, flesh and blood can't cross it. It can't cross it. So that's when the angels took my spirit.
Just a side note, I think the veil, of course, I'm not sure about this. I'd have to look it up to check, but if my understanding of Michelangelo's paintings are correct, I think the veil's a medieval concept. Could be wrong about that, though. I'd have to check that. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think that's a medieval idea. I think. So, have to check it, but yeah.
Maybe his spirit's from the
and
medieval
we went from
times.
darkness to light, just like that.
What?
Maybe his spirit's from the medieval times.
I don't buy any of that reincarnation stuff. I mean, I'm open if somebody's got an argument, but I don't know. I'm dubious.
Maybe we'll do a later one on reincarnation, too.
We've alluded to it in the past. I've expressed being open to it, but I'm not sold on it.
Out of darkness into light. I'd crossed the veil. I was on the other side. The first thing they brought me to see was a verse of Scripture being acted out like a stage play. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, against principalities," word plural, powers, word plural, rulers of the darkness of the world, the menagerie of our enemy. There was this looked like a long table with all these beings sitting around. The devil himself sits at the end. And all these spirits are princes that operate the principalities of the dark world. That's where the warfare plans for spiritual war is actually designed and planned. Satan does nothing without plan.
Okay, well, on that ominous note, we're at the 30-minute mark, I believe, or close to it, maybe 26-minute mark. Either way, we'll have to pick up the NDE conversation. What do you think? You want to do it next week?
We could try it, yeah.
All right. Sounds good. We'll try to do it next time. But for tonight, we're going to wrap it up. So, guys, we're calling it a night. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
We will see you next time.
See ya.